to
Because we need you for our quorum, Mr. President.
CCSA soccer people.
I'll call Madison. Matt, please make
Oh,
sure you're there
the
because we won't
CCSA.
have
Yeah,
fun.
the soccer male
he's gonna be
director,
late.
CCSA, the
I'm
Soccer
with you.
Association.
That's okay, you're here now.
I'm with you. You need to add something.
K4 contract, no.
Let's talk about that. About what? Lincoln Crumb. I just do a presence report, you think? Lincoln Crumb.
Yeah.
What
because
do you want to do,
I thought
a
he was gonna
video
be
or
here
something?
tonight.
I thought it was in here tonight.
For the parks, for
Yeah.
the fields or something?
I'll talk about it.
Informational
Under,
tech,
comments.
okay.
You get that thing at Morris.
Where do you want to add, just add number 2, the new business for the K4? Is that what you want to do? I'll do that when we do the approval of the agenda. Number 2.
Stole it.
Okay, I put my name on it, so you wouldn't read it.
We're going to go ahead and call the Parks Authority meeting
Got your name
to
on it?
order for Monday, April 27th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
St. Pen. Just thought it was that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Member Kelly, Members Rodwell, Osborne, Member Webb, Member Smith,
Present.
Member Gill,
Present.
President Stein,
Here.
Member Julian.
Here.
Member Evans.
Here.
Member Samuels. Let the record show 5 members are present, 4 are absent.
Approval of agenda.
Okay, I'd like to add under new business, put it as number 2, the K4 contract. And with that change, or addition, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda with the addition of the K4 contract. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Approval of minutes from March 23rd.
I see no changes, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion, changes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of claims. And I know the members here probably know sitting here, but just so for everybody's knowledge, because we only have 5 members today, in order for anything to pass, it has to be unanimous. All right,
Yeah, it has to be all 5.
all 5, so,
Oh, we have to have a majority of members total, not just members present.
correct.
Yeah, majority of the total membership, not just present, so that's why you still need 5, because that's still.
Yeah.
So I'll be Nathan. Paul, is there anything that stand out to you or anything we need to know? Okay.
The large item that we have here, that's out of which, is that Parks Open Space?
What page are you on,
Yeah,
Matt?
what page?
I'm sorry, page 2 of 4.
2 to what?
2 of 4.
Transfer of funds.
Yes, the transfer out. I'm assuming that's being transferred into the non-reverting fund that we just established.
The non-reverting is not 209, is it? This is going into 209. I thought that's your... You put that into your 209 fund, Paul, because that was the one you were having issues with and you were running low in.
Right, that's correct.
This is not going to the non-reverting, it's going into your 209.
So 204 is space into 209, which is what?
It's what he operates out of. That's where,
Just your operating budget, Paul? 209 is just your parks operating budget.
It is.
So then,
this was discussed in the finance meeting because that budget was low and we were afraid it was going to get into the red, so we agreed to do a transfer out.
we need,
We did the same thing last year.
Yes. We did the same, yeah. We did the same thing last year too. We just did it.
Is that to
earlier.
help cover the river stage expenses?
Some of it's river stage, some of it's just general.
so where's that coming from then? What's
From
204?
Parks Open Space.
Okay. It's the money we were going to move into the non-reverting fund. Thought that was a
That
chunk.
is available for it.
Okay. So then we have,
The levy is $1 million. We usually get about 700,000. after the reduction.
But we're not moving any
Yeah.
money into that now, anyway. Right,
Not today, we aren't.
that's what I mean.
You have to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the $448,936.55.
Second.
A motion second to approve the claims. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Passes. Old business, none. New business, parks fee schedule.
Yes. I don't think there's anything that's changed. All of you guys have received this and gone over it. There's no major changes this year as opposed to last year. Actually, everything stayed the same. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, the State Board of Accounts felt it prudent that we go over this with the Parks Authority.
Hey, Paul, how are we doing at Nahan Fieldhouse with the new workout facility?
I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm told it's well attended, that we get a lot of people coming in there in the evenings after work. I could get a count for you, but I know several people have signed up. I'd say 30 plus are new to the facility due to the workout room.
Okay.
Do we have to advertise this? If we approve this, Scott, legally when we do
Well,
the
I mean,
fee
if
schedule?
we have a line item for it, it's not an additional, when you say advertise, it only means it's an additional appropriation, so it depends if we have a line item for contract services, if it's already there, it's not additional appropriation. So I don't know
Okay.
how much funds we have in the line item for contractual services. I don't have that information before.
Well, even if we bring in more than what's budgeted in it, we wouldn't, unless we spend it, we don't have to appropriate those dollars that we bring in as income, do we? Or am I misunderstanding?
I just thought we had to advertise our fees for everything so the public knew.
Oh, I thought we were talking about, well, the fees, is this changing? Remember we did an ordinance, the city council did an ordinance of fees?
No.
So it's consistent with the ordinance the city council passed?
That's
Remember
correct.
We did that ordinance of fees?
Right.
Yeah, no, the only time we already did an ordinance authorizing, if you remember, the fees that before never really was done by ordinance. So if we're just taking action, Parks Authority is basically authorizing the fees that have already been passed by ordinance. It doesn't have to be advertised, because the ordinance still needs to be passed.
Never heard of that.
My understanding was we were charging some fees that were not listed in previous ordinance, and this is a way to pull everything together. Is that correct or not?
I don't have a copy of it. I know we met before, a few months ago, remember, whenever we met, I thought we covered all the fees. So is this new?
Well, that's a good question. I don't believe it's new. I mean, there may be some changes under the turf field.
Did we make any change? Yeah, that's what I was going to question. Soccer field, is that in addition to and changes to our regular?
But I don't know if they were different from when we talked about them 3 months ago.
Why don't we table this and double check why we're,
Okay.
I don't understand. I'm not sure why we put this on the agenda. We had to change something. Paul, did you ask to put this on the agenda?
No, I think State Board.
The State Board of Accounts said that we should bring this to the Parks Authority for their approval.
Okay. And I was thinking that's because there were some kind of fees that were not shown in the ordinance before, but I don't know which fees those were.
Okay.
Paul, can I ask you,
Sure.
what is the Adult Spring Bikini Boot Camp?
It's at the Aquatic Center. It is just a boot camp for adults.
Ready for your bikini?
You don't want to see that.
What's that?
Hey,
Fitness
I didn't know
program?
we had a bikini.
Yes, fitness program for adults.
Motion to table.
Second.
I just want to point out that the State Board of Accounts is saying, like, something that's not covered by the current ordinance, that's the proper procedure. Once we have a time to review this, not only does the Parks Authority approve it, but I think it's approving, it's a recommendation to the city council to amend the ordinance. I still think by law, by statute, the city council still has to do an ordinance if there's any fees that are not current ordinance.
Right.
Having all this in front of me. I like having.
So we'll
this
get,
breakdown in
if that's the
front of me.
case, we can probably pass it, and if there needs to be any changes or additions or anything, we could do that at a city council meeting.
Yeah, that's what I would do. 'Cause I still think.
Then we don't have to hold it up.
Yeah, the way I read that, that's why we did the prior ordinance, because
Mhm.
even though maybe if we approve fees before the Parks Authority, really by law,
Draw your
this
motion.
body,
Yeah, and we'll-
the city council has to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll review the previous ordinance and see if there's any changes. And if there are, bring that to the council.
I think at this time, if you all want to, instead of tabling it, and if you're okay with this, if you want to pass that on as a recommendation to the city council for an amendment to the existing ordinance of fees, however you all want to do it.
I'll amend my motion as such.
Then you're gonna make another motion to
Yep.
pass it.
With a positive recommendation to the
Yep.
city council.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second to recommend the passage of an ordinance, this ordinance for fee structure to the city council with favorable recommendation, I guess. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You know, one thing that's changed is the Steamboat Days Festival. That is new. This was the first time we've had Steamboat Days in a lot of years. So that is probably an addition to.
Unless we did it before Steamboat last year. I don't remember.
So Paul, let's be sure to review it before the
Okay.
council meeting. We'll put it on the council meeting agenda, and then if there's any changes we need to make.
Good.
And then we'll finalize it at city council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Is,
Yes.
next up is the
K4.
K4 contract.
Hello, how are you?
Fine.
I'll say lady and gentlemen. Ladies, sorry, I didn't see you over there. First of all, I'm Kelly McVoy. I am also the owner and operator of K4 Security. You all are used to seeing my husband, Scott McVoy, Michael McVoy, up here normally, but due to conflict of interest, he has turned it over to me completely. So anyway, I'm here also too to respectfully ask for a continuation of the Big Four Security Bridge for the contract time frame, May 1st through October 31st. Right now, our contract ends April the 30th, 2015. Y'all have it.
This is just the same contract as before.
But what's the total amount of the contract?
Total amount for the contract to exceed maximum of no more than $74,600.
Now, we split that with redevelopment last year, didn't we?
I believe it split 3 ways last time between the Parks redevelopment and the urban.
UEZ.
Yeah, UEZ.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was split too.
And as it is my understanding, I'm not for sure that, well, right now that the redevelopment board has talked with you guys, with the Parks Department, and/or has said that it's turned over to you guys now. I'm not,
That is not true.
No.
I haven't had any conversation.
I did call Monty Snelling today because he is president of redevelopment, and I asked, he had said that the contract and nothing's been discussed or even brought to the board. So he had said whoever needs to bring it to redevelopment and ask for the half. Now, I've not
Third.
talked to Rob Ways, though.
The third.
A third.
So we need to approve, do we want to approve a third of this pending the other two?
That way, well, let's see, if we approved a third of it, they couldn't really start the contract until they got the other 2/3, but.
Well, I mean, that would be approval of the other boards.
I understand, yeah. They have a redevelopment meeting this week,
Yeah, Wednesday.
tomorrow, or Wednesday.
Is it tomorrow?
When is it, Richard? I knew Richard would know.
I was wrong.
Is that something you could go to?
can make it possible, yes.
Well, I think, I mean, we can approve our portion of it,
Right.
but I think redevelopment should, I don't see any difference in the payment schedule. I think redevelopment and UEZ, Mike, you said on UEZ, when's your all's next meeting?
Next month, I'll have to look, I've got it rolled down, but I can bring it up, or we can get it, I can have Kelly put it on the schedule.
Okay. You know, we don't want to interrupt service, but
Right.
I don't really foresee there being a problem, but you never know.
Right.
Yeah, I'll
So-
just make a motion then that we approve 1/3 of the $74,600 pending approval of redevelopment and the UEZ, yeah. if that's,
You think your meeting is it in the 1st of May or?
wait a minute here. It's the second Wednesday. See, it's the 13th.
I thought the first, though, when we did the May to October contract, it was just Parks Authority and redevelopment. I thought it was just this new contract that was just for a shorter period of time. It was all three. Am I not?
As far as I know, it was between all three is the last contract that went through, so I'm not, I mean, I didn't think that it wasn't halves
I
between
know
you two.
UEZ pays for the big hunk for the cleanup and grass
The
cutting and
the
all
issue is
that.
at this point, redevelopment still controls that park,
Right,
and they should really be the lead entity in making all this stuff happen.
exactly.
And so that's why it's kind of a little awkward for us to sit here and say, we're not sure who's, paying for it, a third or half, and hopefully the other entities will step up and continue to pay for the security.
The other thing that I'd like to throw in is we're at the 25th, 27th of
Exactly,
April.
right,
Well, we need to be doing this middle of the month at the latest,
right,
like middle of April, so that we have time to get to these meetings.
exactly.
We don't want to interrupt service, but
Exactly, yeah.
we want to, and we haven't been communicated through from redevelopment, so,
So they haven't made any contact with you guys?
no, they haven't even talked to Paul, it doesn't sound like.
Okay, all right. So we just want to wait and go to the meeting tomorrow then at 2?
Well, let's go.
I think there was a motion for us to pay 1/3.
Okay.
Not to exceed 1/3 the amount of 74,600. Someone's gonna have to pull a calculator out there.
And then that'll help you go into
Don't have it on
redevelopment.
it.
It's
Okay.
just under 25,000.
Yeah. it's
And
close to
Richard
25.
will be there tomorrow, he'll help you get on the agenda tomorrow.
Okay, that's good,
Okay,
thanks.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to continue or approve the contract with the amount of being not to exceed $25,000. I'm saying 25,000, which is about 1/3 of the total amount. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
All right,
It
thank you.
passes.
Thanks.
Next up, under Director's Report, Sandy Knott, Advisory Report.
That redevelopment should be.
Thank you.
They're only
Is this on? We met on April 27th, and one of the things that we discussed was the new green team, the new hires, and I just wanted to ask Paul where we were on that.
The salary ordinance needs to be approved by the mayor, and it hasn't been done. So we're hoping that happens this week. Once the salary ordinance is approved, then I can hire them.
So they haven't been hired as yet.
Can you repeat that one more time? It needs to be approved by the mayor? You mean,
He needs to
he needs to
sign.
sign?
Sign off, excuse me.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Mayor needs to sign off on it, and he has not done that. It's my understanding, it'll happen tomorrow, and then I can announce the hire.
Okay. Okay.
You already
It's,
gone through that hiring process, so you're loaded
Yeah,
and ready to go?
I interviewed 4 individuals.
Okay.
Was it one of our applicants that we thought was?
It is one of the 4 applicants that I interviewed.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Robbie Valentine will be having a basketball program hosted at the field house. Excuse me. The building fee is being waived since there is no charge to the participants. And it was also suggested that perhaps Sarah Nord could lead some sort of a basketball camp. I don't know, the one that Valentine does, is that for girls and boys? Okay, so I think Sarah would be a good asset for the city to use to help promote the girls' basketball as well as the boys. When I was in Florida, one of the hottest things going down there, other than the sun, was pickleball. I don't know if you all are aware of pickleball or not. Have you heard of it? Have you, Dennis? Well, it's an up-and-coming sport, and the people were actually almost fighting over the use of the tennis courts. It's crossed between badminton, tennis, and ping pong. And they even have pickleball stores where you can go in and buy the rackets and the pickleballs. I brought Paul back one, and it's almost like a heavy-duty wiffle ball. And Nikki had heard of it, and she said that Clarksville Parks has has a program for pickleball, and you were going to check into that. And it's an activity that is up and coming. They have a website if you want to Google it, and lots of participants. I talked with the owner of the store in Fort Myers, and there were at that time way over 100,000 members of pickleball. And it's something that young people and old people can do. And it just blew me away, but it's an up-and-coming thing. Teddy Throckmorton is seeking dual sponsorships by Parks Authority and Parks Recreation for their 2015 Crusade for Children golf tournament. And this would be he's not missed one of the Crusades. What is it, their 45th year?
Been affiliated with that. It's a bunch.
Yeah.
Since 74, I don't know.
Longer than
Is
74.
he wanting us to?
Well, he had mentioned it in the meeting, so I just wanted to mention it here, and I assume he will probably contact one of you guys. Disney Park, Lisa was at the last Parks Advisory meeting, and you had talked about, was it Red Wing? The organization for wetlands, for some plantings that was going to go on around the area where the
Riparian zone, or a little conservation area to add some color.
and has that planting taken place?
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago, 2.5
Okay.
weeks ago, we planted over almost 800 plants. They'll bloom at different times of the year, so it'll be different colors.
Okay, are they on the perimeter of the,
They're all over the place up there.
Okay.
I was up there today and I had to plant them. We try to put like a group of 8 purple in one area and 8 yellow here and 8 pink.
okay,
Blooming at different times, so it wouldn't just be one area blooming.
Sure.
The whole park would bloom at different times.
okay, great. The painting of the overlook, posts and railing, has that been completed now? It looks pretty much like it is.
85%. The railing down at the river was underwater.
Yeah,
And
okay.
not-
Okay, and Duffy's Landing, Phase 1 of the construction is almost complete with the addition of 4 boat areas for the ramp. Yeah, have it. And Phase 2 will consist of parking lot, extension to the west, and work at the riverbank and gazebo to be part of the construction. Our next meeting will be May the 7th at 2 p.m., and we do appreciate you people on the Parks Authority that do come to our meetings. You add a lot, and you answer a lot of our questions. So if any of you have the chance, again, we'd love to have you May 7th.
Sandy, when's the next meeting?
May
May
7th.
7th. I missed it. Sorry.
Okay, that's
It's
okay.
always in Paul.
Our conference room.
What's that, planning and zoning conference room? That's not your, okay, planning and zoning
Okay.
conference.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Missed that.
Next up, Matt Gullo, Worley update.
Evening, everybody. As you all know, excuse me, Worley has become a wonderful success. The addition of the Rovers there, semi-professional football teams, CCSA and their tournaments, and I've been asked to present a Phase 2 of Worley's ongoing project to really finish up Worley Fields. I'm presenting a proposal to you tonight based on a project list that was put together on some of the Parks Authority members, CCSA, and Paul Northam to help finish that up. The projects are site improvements as well as installing a new building to be a support for the entire facility there. The site improvements is kind of a hodgepodge of things, but really cleans up the project and makes it the most useful for everybody using the facility. Those projects include creation of additional parking spaces. As you all know, that some of the events create overflow of parking more than we ever expected, which is great. But at the other hand, we need some more parking spaces. So there'll be a creation of at least 100 parking spaces, between 100 and 120 spaces. The area behind the artificial fields, where the neighbors are, we've put up some nets based on what was thought going to be played there. Since that time, there's been more adults playing there, which needs a bigger net system. So it involves creating a net system that would stop 95% of the balls going over. Can't always, maybe even 97%. So it would just be a really benefit to those neighbors. They've been a great, they've been great to us over the times that balls have been kicked to us. So we're just trying to react to that. Let's see here. Some of the other, there's, let's see here, I'm sorry. Zoysia Field would be added in addition to the original one there. Field A, which is the first field that you get to, grass field, off to the left, would be turned into Zoysia Field. That has been, the one that's there now is a really good success, and adding another one was thought to be another good addition to this field. It just keeps up better, and a lot of soccer teams and football teams like to play on that field, so adding that. Raising the bleachers was another thing. Right now,
Sorry. could you
No, it's all right.
What was the field that you were talking about?
Yeah, let me
Field
let me
area.
Let me mention something about that. That was the field that was right where nearby the building, this big sports building was going to be built, and it was also driven across on to put the turf, the Zoysia turf down, the sod down, and so it needs to have some improvement in order for that field to be playable. CCSA asked if they would, they offered to pay half the cost to sod it to Zoysia, and in return we
So
pay
you'd
the other
strip
half.
that off?
Yeah, because we'd have to spend money to repair it, make it playable anyway, and this would be a quick solution to upgrade that field and to split the cost with CCSA. That's that part. But all these list of items are items that Paul and I and Paul Duckworth, CCSA, and a number of members just sat down and made a list of over the course of the year what kind of issues have come up. Some of them are maintenance issues, and some of them are just issues we just plain old forgot, like putting speakers on the stands. And the stands, we found out that they're too low with the fence. When you put the first couple rows of the bleachers are the view is obstructed by the fence, especially when we put a couple banners up for the sponsors. First couple rows aren't used. So if you go to like Jeff High soccer fields, there are a lot of football fields, soccer fields are raised up 3, 4, 5 feet so you can see above the fence line. So that's why we're raising the bleachers. But all these items, from stripping to stop dirt from flooding into the synthetic field, and all these things are all different issues that either we forgot to add or maintenance issues that we came to realize needed to be done as a result of the weather or playing on at that facility.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Add surface course to existing parking lot. Is that the going over the binder?
That is correct. So
We didn't have that in the,
the original bid, we did not put that in there for two reasons. We wanted to save costs, but two, we always knew that there was going to be a second project. Originally, the second phase was going to be the large facility, the indoor sports facility, and we didn't want to go ahead and put a surface course on there with large vehicles going over it, cracking it, and making ruts when we would just have to redo that. So we would be finishing up that portion.
what about correct slope at northeast corner of existing Zoysia field?
That was brought up to me in the last meeting. I guess a portion of the Zoysia field slopes off a little bit dramatically at one of the corners. I think that Zoysia field was always used, or was meant to be used more for a football field, and I think whenever it was graded out, that the corner was a little bit lost, and they graded off a little bit too steeply. So we just have to add some soil there to flatten it and to raise it back up.
Soccer fields are wider than the football
Right.
fields, so if it was just going to be primarily football, that corner wouldn't have mattered. That seems to become soccer on the field.
But see, that I don't agree with that excuse because I knew it was going to be used for dual purposes. I think
Didn't
it was
sound
just,
like it was done.
just
right.
kind of a,
Mess up.
it's just it's just the corner there that drops off, but it affects play, especially with corner kicks for soccer.
No, I don't doubt
Yeah.
that, but it should have been caught in the inspection.
Been taken care of.
Probably so.
You know, I'm gonna be, I guess I'm gonna say something here just for myself, but I'm kind of disappointed in Colbert Hawkins. And I think it boils down to if you have a specialty project, I think you need a specialty company. If you go down this list, to me, some of this stuff should have been done. Now, I'm not an architect and I don't design fields, but it seems to me when you design a project like this, you know, some of this stuff, whether it's the field there, I went through and checked some of this, create a better separation between artificial turf, raised bleachers. I mean, I know for us, we don't do that every day. So when we need to raise the bleachers, it's like we get them in there and it's, oh yeah, it's behind the fence. Because I went up and looked at that because we talked about this before. But if you design these projects, you know, I would think an architect that designs these projects would know ahead of time you're going to have to elevate the bleachers or something to get them above the fence. And it, you know, we pay money to have people do that. And I went through this. This isn't a punch list. A punch list of issues of a project that has been agreed to that needs to be tweaked or finalized. This is all new.
Well-
Some of this stuff you all as an architectural firm or somebody should have. I mean,
Well, the
I'm
bleachers.
sorry, but I just don't think.
You're absolutely right, but I guess in reaction to that comment, we actually did have raised bleachers when we first had designed it. If you remember back when we were going through the project, we were on a very tight budget. Some of the things were actually cut out of the project, one of those being the elevated bleachers, to the surface course. We actually cut out netting as part of the project, so because we had to do so much rock excavation. So some of these things were cut. And speakers, we actually did have speakers in there originally. They were cut to actually get the project within budget so we could get it going. And
So you've got here convert handles on bathroom doors to push plates.
Right. So originally the idea was that we were going to have Security Pros be a security system for the whole thing, which is where we have the handles there now, and they would all be a lock system with a fob or something like that, or a key card. And since that time, it was a decision from the Parks Authority to not do that system because it would be more expensive to maintain the Security Pros than to just fix a vandalism. So right now, we had it set up so Security Pros could come in there. We actually have off the electric panels, we have conduit ready for Security Pros just to come in there and install their system. So we're reacting to not wanting security Pros and taking the handles off and putting those push.
Add electric outlets to the corners of the premier field. Relocate a double gate near the bleachers for better access.
That again, we actually added additional gates already. The electric was in lieu of the Rovers getting there. It was always supposed to be a youth soccer field. So right now they need electric for when people come in to check in or get tickets for the Rovers or the semi-professional football team. So these are all things that are from the success of the fields, things that we did not even know that were going to happen to begin with when we first designed the soccer field. So now, you know, the sloping, that was a question before, that should have been caught. I actually didn't even, the corners were marked and I didn't realize that the slope was so bad. I don't know if that happened through washout because it was never mentioned until last week. So I'm sorry that happened, and that certainly shouldn't have happened. But a lot of these things, yes, it does look like a punch list, but they're really...
It should be a punch list, but it's not. It's all additions to the millions of dollars we've spent. Design a new dumpster area.
well, we had a dumpster area designed, but now the old building that was designed for that is not going there, so we're just putting a new dumpster pad in a different location. It's already been designed, it just has to be relocated and designed to allow the trash people to come and actually pick up the trash. So, I mean, I completely understand. It does. I put this together, I'm like, they're going to think it's a punch list, but
I got one more complaint, not about you all, that I'm going to bring up too, so you're not the only one. But it looks to me like there's not enough, and we run into this all the time, which has nothing to do with you, but we do these sewer jobs, and our inspectors are the same people as the engineers that's getting paid to inspect it. Well, that don't work. And it's like, if we're going to pay somebody to inspect these projects or these jobs somewhere along the line, we need an outsider, if you will, a third party, to come to somebody and say, that pipe's got a belly in it, you got to take it out.
Sure.
Instead of just, maybe we'll put a little dirt over it, or as an example.
Yeah, Band-Aid.
I've got something else I'm going to bring up too to the park. Really, it's not our project, but it initially kind of is, but I'm going to bring that up here shortly too. But I understand, but I don't know,
Can somebody explain what you're talking about on the new building?
Yeah, that's the next item.
Yep.
Before we talk about site improvements, but go.
Go ahead.
Before we get
I got a
there,
question.
what is create better separation between artificial and grass fields?
So originally I had a 2-foot separation between the artificial and turf field to keep grass mowing and grass clippings out of there. When I finally did the punch list, AML had put a 1-foot curb in there, and I said that was not enough. And I told them they need to go back and put the additional concrete. If they would do that, they guaranteed that it would be cracking and the curb would not be held up. So they told me they would fix it, and by fixing it, they basically had put a stone barrier so that grass would not grow there. But now the stones travel into the field. So we need to create that separation a little bit better without stones. It would be a very minor fix, really.
But shouldn't they be held accountable to come back and fix that?
I can ask them.
I mean, it was their mess up.
It was, and
Not to make excuses, but what happens is, at the time when it was done, it looked great. I mean, they had a nice stone separation, and you just didn't realize after rain and play, I guess I didn't, maybe they should have known, like you mentioned, Mike, but over time, between rain and people and mud and the rocks and things that are going onto the field, so the separation, even though it looked great at the time when it was finished, it's not, from a functional standpoint, it's a bad idea, because all these stones and mud through the gateway get onto the synthetic turf field.
If we go back to the original idea of raising the bleachers, the argument I'm hearing for raising bleachers is to see over the fence.
Right.
If you're sitting on the front row and the bleachers are raised, are you not going to have a chain link fence across the front of that to keep anybody from falling off?
Yeah, there would be some type of, basically a fence system in that front row.
There would just be rail.
Yeah, it would, I'm sorry, yes, it would be a pipe rail system.
I'm just thinking about Jeff High.
Get permission.
It doesn't seem like you're going to be fixing a problem there.
Well, chain link fence is tight, so it's hard to see through it. Plus, there's sponsors that go along the front. What's at Jeff High and what would be here would be like a pipe rail. So there'd be a lot of space to be able to see out.
Do they put the banners across the chain link fence in front of the bleachers?
They do, but even if they didn't, it obstructs the view. Have you been up?
Yeah, I've been there. If they do, and the bleachers are raised, then you're not going to see that banner there anyway. I don't know. Before I came here, I was at Jeff High and was watching a softball game, and you watch it through a chain link fence. I don't know if this is a cost that's even worth, worrying about, but I just don't see the point. I don't see I don't see where this is going to make that much of a difference that we need to go ahead and incur this cost.
Yeah, that was actually, it was just brought to me on a way to get up above the chain link fence there, and the only way to do that is to raise the bleachers up.
Right. And we cut that out for the cost before, so I don't know why we're going to go back and revisit it now. I mean, if we take a $5 million project and cut it down to $3 million project, and then a year later come back and add the other $2 million back into it, well, why didn't we just stick with the original $5 million project? Some of these things moving gates and adding electrical outlets, I mean, that's not essential for the functionality of what we wanted to do here. I mean, I'm not against having some of the semi-pro guys come in, but that's not what this was for. And to redo the whole project and add some of these things in doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's not a wash, we're losing money.
And I want to respond to that because I agree. I understand what you're saying. What the discussion in generating this list was everything that any issues you have with the field, let's address them on this go around. So if we don't want to spend $5,000 to raise, I mean, it's not only going to be $5,000 or $10,000 they estimate to raise the stands to improve the vision. We don't want to spend that, but that's totally fine. I understand that. The need for the electrical, we don't have to do it. Right now we run electrical cords from time to time. We don't have to do that. The idea was, well, if we're going to have the electricians there, we're going to build a building 20 feet away, it would be nothing to run electric up and put an outlet here. So it was brought up, why run electrical cords if we can just spend a couple bucks and get a permanent electrical outlet there? So it's not like these things were missed or really making a Cadillac out of this. It was like, from my direction, I asked, hey, give me all the issues or any ideas to improve the project, and let's consider them. So if they don't need to be here, or if they're frivolous or too expensive, let's cut them out. But I did want to try to address every concern or every idea to finish this project right.
And to be in all honesty, this is actually the first public artificial turf field that's rented out within this region. So you're doing one-of-a-kind thing, so there are going to be some questions. One, we didn't know how successful this was going to be. It's been way more successful than I think ever imagined, which is, I think, is a testament to you making the call to build this, and two, the greatness of what you have here. So, and Ed's exactly right. We're just trying to some of these smaller changes on here. They're not going to be huge in cost. They're just a reaction to what's going on in the fields right now. When it comes down to the majority cost, it's going to be the netting, to put some nets behind to protect those neighbors, and the building itself, and then doing the extra parking. Those are the three major projects, if you want to boil it down to this proposal. Everything else was just very minor things that said, since we're out there, why don't we go ahead and try to make it a little bit better for the situations that are going on there now. So, but you have to look at it. It's a great, successful project, I think, and having these few little items when this is the first shot that a city's ever done in doing something like this. Most cities go and do a field house and rent the field house out, but they don't do a full. A lot of them don't put the effort in and the cost into to actually do an artificial turf field because of what it costs up front. They do just a grass soccer field, but you can see how many people want this artificial turf field in the area. Louisville, up and down, or up north, everywhere, they're coming in and renting this place out. So
I have a quick question.
absolutely.
You have the design for a broken pipe under the railroad line at Charlestown Pike.
That's okay. So that's the city's pipe. It was just on there if we wanted to fix it. Basically, there's a pipe that we don't connect to it. We drain to it from our detention pond, and from time to time, that pipe it's a corrugated metal pipe, and it gets clogged. And when our water drains, it outflows from our detention pond into that pipe, and then goes to the stream off of Utica Sellersburg. If it's ever clogged, it overflows over the railroad tracks, and if it's a really bad rain, it gets into the neighbors. So this is an opportunity that we can fix that problem.
Would we need permission from the railroad? Even though it's our pipe, it's still their...
We have actually ideas that we would create a different outlet in the detention pond and go to a new pipe that's existing there, and then pipe it on the other side. It currently goes underneath the railroad, and so there's two pipes that go underneath the railroad, sorry. The one that we drain to, and then there's another one that's further down. We went to the easiest one to drain to at the lowest point. We can also do a secondary system, which currently goes under the railroad, and then connect a new pipe to a catch basin that's been currently put there at Coronado Stone. So it would bypass the one that's there now and not have overflow of that water, and then go to a new pipe system that actually just everything goes underground then.
Did we put the metal pipe in?
No, it was there.
How big a pipe is it?
18 inch, I believe.
And it's
18 or
stopping-
24 inch.
And it's stopping up?
It stops up, the last time it stopped up was when we had that other major rainfall, and
What's causing it to stop up?
that one, it was a sandbag. So we don't know where it came from. The engineer who who was out there, who designed the field, so he treats it like his baby, wants to make sure everything drains properly. He goes out there whenever it has really bad rainfalls because he's worried about that spot. And he saw that it was flooding, and he called Andy, and Andy took out, went in there and dredged out the sandbag that was clogging it, and it flowed just fine after that. But there's just a lot of debris that comes through that area and clogs it from time to time. So this would be able to bypass that and put everything underground to the city system.
So do we need a grate or something prior to the pipe so it wouldn't get in the pipe and stop it up? It would. Is it just an open pipe, an open 18-inch pipe?
Yeah, it's a very old 18-inch corrugated metal pipe. It's going to be failing soon.
I don't know why they would put metal in versus plastic.
Or it probably should be concrete, honestly.
Again, part of the discussion was, let's finish this project right, so we not have to worry about things a year or two from now. Where, gosh, when we had the electrician there, why didn't we get electric here? Why didn't we go ahead and finish that pipe off and not deal with drainage a year or two from now? Why didn't we do it back then? So this was kind of like, if there's an issue or you foresee a problem, let's go ahead and consider that, upgrading it or enhancing it or fixing that maintenance issue.
Yeah, in all honesty, it should probably be the drainage boards or the sewer to do that. We've been trying to get Andy to get out there, and he prefers just to clean it out. So it's actually, like I said, it's underneath the railroad, so it's not even on Worley's property, but we drain right to it. So it's an opportunity to fix that if we want to.
I just want to add one more thing. I think it was very beneficial to meet with Nathan. And when he brought up the idea of, he even had somebody as an electrician that was going to put in an outlet. I'd rather see us put in an outlet than have electrical cords strung where they're not being taped down. Everybody's ready to sue for something. Not paying attention, fall or whatever. I mean, that's very inexpensive to add an electrical box.
And who she's referring to is Nathan Pitcock is here. He's the owner of the Rovers, and they rent the field more than any entity, and have more events there probably than any one entity other than CCSA and SIU. So, Nathan, I appreciate you being here. And we're going to talk about something regarding Nathan here under Paul's report.
Well, and then to add that one thing that Nathan brought up to us, and I thought asking for an electrical thing for their trailer when he explained is the amount of people that they're bringing into Jeff and showcasing Jeff, and they're eating at our restaurants that's close to the field, usually Boom Balls, or I just thought it was amazing I didn't realize what they bring into the city just by using our turf field, so it's interesting. Thank you.
So, is there any other questions?
Yeah, move on to building a little bit.
Okay. So, again, The building, original building that was going to go there, it was going to be an indoor sports facility that had the ability to change from all sorts of functions, whether it be volleyball, baseball, indoor soccer, a slew of different events. Since that time, with the amount of traffic that comes through there with the fields, looking at other future projects, it seems that portion of the building, the actual multi-sport complex, the back portion of it, would be put on hold until we figure out a better solution. But we still need a support facility for Whirly Fields. That's what this new building would be. As you can see in that proposal, it would create locker rooms for men's and women's with coaches' rooms inside those locker rooms. Again, with the success of the park, there's lots of teams out there with the semi-professional football team and the Rovers. They need locker rooms, and I've heard that Jeff High might be wanting to rent the fields, and they would be beneficial to use those locker rooms as well. So adding those locker rooms into this would be beneficial to the fields, and it was already going into the bigger complex. Men's and women's restrooms with a family restroom for obvious reasons, a referee's room, office spaces for CCSA and Parks Authority for when people are out there. They have a place to put their files and their gear and whatever materials they need for tournaments or upkeep of the facility. A flex space, so CCSA does programming for coaches and training for staff and things like that, and they need a sort of flex space, a conference room of sort to train and do presentations, things like that, which could also be used as office space as well for the Parks Authority and CCSA.
Football as well.
And football, yes, thank you. And then obviously a new concession stand. We have a current one right now, but it's farthest away. It's very centralized, which is why we put it there for the time being until the building went up. But most activity happens near the parking lot and near the turf field. So having that second and ultimately first and foremost concession stand would be very beneficial to be located right next to that turf field. A second-story viewing area, so we're looking at building a viewing space for, one, safety and security of the whole park itself. People can kind of go around and see everything that's going on. If Ricky Romans is out there and he's overlooking the park and he can say, oh, I see something going on, what's going on, call somebody, get the action moving faster than what might not be able to happen if you don't have this viewing, but also a place for coaches or premier seating, all sorts of activities could be up there and be viewed. It's a premier seat onto the turf field itself, so that upper deck space, and that's where some of that office and flex space would be located as well. Utility room, and then all that goes with that. So onto that, we are also going to get with all the major players that would be using this, all the people that Paul thinks that we need to talk to, all the people that Paul Duckworth thinks we need to talk to. I'll get with Nathan, make sure he understands the building and how it should be used and how the Rovers would like to see it used in locker room spaces. So we would be doing that as part of the building design portion. And then as part of the whole thing, we will be going back to planning and zoning. We will be going back to Board of Drainage Board to make sure they're up to date on what's going out on the field and get all that pre-approved. So, anyone have any questions on the
What do you
building?
think the footprint of this building's going to be?
Right now, we have 100 by 30.
Wow.
Yep.
What's the cost estimate? I mean, I know you haven't.
I
gone
did a quick cost estimate today. It's very rough, just doing some baseline items on everything. We're looking at about $1 million, a little bit, maybe $1,200,000 by the end of it. The building, we're looking at about 120 per square foot. So whatever that adds up to be.
30 feet deep, that's very big.
Nathan, can I ask you a question? Sure. What do your guys do now without locker rooms?
We currently take the opposing teams over to the local YMCA. I've got a good relationship with the YMCAs in Louisville, and just through that network and what have you, we reached out to them, and they keep it open for us on those nights. We take the road teams over there, and they get a shower before. Just the way our conference is set up, most teams are not staying the night when they play us. They're getting on the road and moving on to the next stop. So we take them over there to get showers after. Our current players are basically, again, they're drawing mostly from the Louisville area, so they're going home for showers right now. It's not an ideal situation, but again, we knew what the plans were for the venue ultimately, and we felt like, okay, we can wait it out and grow as the venue grows. So that's what we're currently doing.
Any other questions? So at this point, what we're doing is we're considering having Covert Hawkins go ahead and put all this together, work on designing the building, and work on, I guess, the bid. Did you work on the bid documents as well?
We would be looking at full design and update of all the current documents, design of the building, construction documents of the building, bid, and construction administration of the project.
And then you would go also to planning and zoning.
Yep.
Give all the notices, do all that, then and go to drainage board, make sure everything's okay.
Yes, that's included in this.
I noticed you.
I was going to say, and then after all that, then you come back to us to consider putting it out for bid, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we would never put anything out to bid without your permission.
I noticed you put this, or broke this price down for your site improvements in your building and then your
Yep.
building and construction. I guess I need to digest this a little bit before I vote on it. I tell you, and the reason is, I mean, when we're looking at this rate schedule, and we know we're losing money. I mean, we all know that. But when we look at the turf field at $75 an hour, and then we're talking about I don't know what that turf field cost, but then we're going to supplement it with $1 million plus building to help. I don't know. I need to digest that a little bit. And we've talked about it, and I've met Nathan, and I get it. I understand. But I got to get my head wrapped around that.
I'm not really ready to vote on it yet. I'm not real satisfied with this, let alone jumping into another project. So.
And the last thing I want to do is get it turned down. If you know what I mean. I'm not ready for that yet. And since we got to be a unanimous vote, my thing would be to give us a little time to.
Well, we
And I
also
think
have 4 members
Yeah,
on
the full
here.
board.
Yeah,
needs to
well,
be
that's
here.
right. That's right.
Okay.
Nathan, do you have anything you want to add, or?
No, I guess what I would contribute is I can't speak to what your all's vision for this facility is. And when you talk about, are these add-ons, are they things we need for what we intend this facility to be used for? What I look at is sort of the long-term life of the facility and the upkeep of it, the maintenance of it, the making sure, having seen these turf fields now, they've been around long enough that you're seeing ones that have needed refurbishing and things like that. And I think some of the upgrades help ensure that this is still going to be a highly desirable facility for the years to come, and not just while it's sort of the only thing around. Again, they make it desirable to organizations like ourselves and other, semi-professional organizations and things like that, and the potential revenue that can come from that, again, can help to make sure the life of the facility, again, just continues to be desirable. Of course, it's great when it's fresh out of the box, but 5 years down the road, when it's seen some wear and tear, And again, I don't know what your funding situation is, but I'm just saying that there's obviously going to be costs associated with upkeep of a facility, and again, making that facility attractive enough, I think is going to help continue to ensure that revenue's there, so.
However, when we commit to doing that building, we have upkeep, we have maintenance, and we have,
I agree.
The only thing I think I feel that we are, obviously, I'd like for it to be premier, I'd like for us to move forward with this, but I understand everybody's concerns, but out of nothing else, maybe we need to separate the netting for those neighbors, because those neighbors
I would agree
have
with
been
that.
very patient, but, we said we'd do our best to keep the balls from going in their yards, and I think we should maybe separate the netting out, or separate maybe one or two things out, at least the
I would
netting,
vote to move forward.
and move forward with the netting.
I agree 100%. I do.
Well, do we have a breakdown of the netting?
If it's just the netting, we can just go ahead and do it. It would basically just be working with the members of the Parks Authority and Paul's office to make sure you get what you want, and we can put a simple bid package out.
I think we need to move forward with that personally.
Yeah, and that falls under our needs for quotes and all, because it's under that price.
You would get, you would have to get quotes. You would not have to bid it out, though.
It wouldn't be over 150,000.
No.
No.
It's under 150,000, so you get 3.
Yes.
So is that a motion to go
I
ahead?
make a motion for the netting
I'll
to move
second.
forward with that portion.
So we have a motion and second to go ahead and move forward.
Is that the only thing?
Was there anything else, Paul, that you think that,
The only other thing I would say is the surface course.
Yeah.
The surface course?
well, no, because if we end up building,
Oh,
why would
okay.
we want to tear up the parking
I
lot
understand.
again?
Yep.
We have a second?
I think there was a second. right?
Oh, did you?
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and with that, I guess we'll bring this back to the next meeting. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Paul or to Matt
Yep, please do.
or anyone else, and maybe we'll get the rest of the members here and see
And
what
will
we're
you
comfortable
get a
doing.
hold of, was it AML to see about that erosion issue or that corner to see what they're responsible for? Or,
I will.
because, with other projects coming on board, we'd like to have a worker-friendly relationship with our contractors.
Absolutely. And if you want to go in more detail on some of those items, I'd be happy to do that if you might.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Paul Northam, Director's Report.
Thank you. Just a couple things here. I want to let you know that our sponsorship person, Dave Simpson, has been hitting it hard and spoken to over 120 different businesses locally looking for some sponsorships for our parks events. He's talked to people like Snyder Lance, Monarch Beverage, Miller, ACL, UPS, Papa John's, Yum Brands, Horseshoe Casino, First Savings Bank, Walnut Ridge, Catamaran, Amazon, Hine Brothers, Coyle Chevrolet, Coca-Cola, and that's just to name a few of them. Had a meeting with UPS today, said it went very well. So just want to let you know he's out there making the contacts, and things are looking pretty good. River Stage is coming in next Monday, probably with the hopefully the weather the water stays down, but we're looking at bringing in Monday. They're still working on the dock there to accept the new location of the River Stage, so we should be in good shape by next Monday. Like Sandy mentioned, they've just about finished the painting of the overlook railing down there. I for one, think it looks great. Black with a little silver lettering. Anyway, that's almost done. Touch a Truck event, it will be coming up before our next meeting. It's on May 16th. Sarah went over the details, but I just want to give you a heads up. We're going to be meeting with Dawn Stryker and the Arts Alliance or Arts Commission to talk about Shakespeare in the Park. They've reached out to us and want to have an event. And Sarah and I are going to meet with Dawn in the morning to go over the details. I think they're looking for some partners to help out with funding for the Shakespeare. I don't know any other details about how much right now. We'll know more in the morning, but I think they're wanting to do something in Big Four Park, and since Sarah does our special events, I thought she would need to be involved in that. We just finished up going out to the grade schools. We did it a couple years ago, and we decided to do it again this year. And it's always a great event and fun event. And what we do is myself and my 4 assistants go to each of the 8 grade schools in the area, and we put on a little 25-minute presentation, each one of us talking about different things coming up in the parks. Sarah talks about the kids triathlon and the river stage events. Ricky talks about all the sports and athletics like the summer program and the event at the high school. And Nikki talks about the pool. And then we show a short video to the kids, and they really enjoy that. And then we pass out. It's really a way for us to pass out brochures. In the past, we've taken them to the schools, and they end up going to the trash can, or the kid. They don't get in the kids' hands. But in this way, we can make sure the kids get them in their hands, take them home to mom and dad, put them on the refrigerators, and make sure mom and dad get them out to those events. So anyway, that's always a lot of fun meeting with the kids. And then the last thing is, obviously, we're hitting it heavy with the ball fields and cutting grass and some other things. We hope to get our green space maintenance program underway middle of this week. We've got all the players in place. We will shortly. And then we'll meet to decide how we're going to handle it. There's a building down here on Mechanic Street just behind the quadrangle that used to be used by construction. It was brought up that maybe Bubby would want to use it for painting the vehicles. I talked to Bubby last week, and he has no intention of using that building. So I've been talking with the mayor and Rob Ways and the police department about getting in there and using this for our headquarters for the green space maintenance. We've talked about putting it in the Parks building, and we could probably make it work there, but things are going to be really tight. Adding all this new equipment and then new employees, it's just going to be tough to do. We have this building that right now just sits down there empty. It's a large building, can house all of our equipment, mowers and weed eaters, and has restrooms that need a little work, has a break room area, and I went through it last week, and I think we can use it. So we're looking to possibly move forward with this building here in the next week or so. That's all I have.
No, Paul, you have one more thing?
Yes.
I probably should have added it to the agenda rather than put it in under your report, but that is, we had a meeting in Paul's office to talk about alcohol sales in the parks, and specifically alcohol sales, beer sales at Worley. And during that meeting, Nathan Pitcock was there as well. And as well as our attorney, Mr. Lewis. And what it came down to is we looked at other parks and what they do. And there's a wide variety of what happens in different Indiana parks, from the parks not saying anything regarding alcohol, some parks allowing alcohol, some parks not allowing alcohol. And sometimes they allow them at certain venues, and sometimes they don't allow them at certain venues. And that's kind of what we have going on here. Is we in Jeffersonville, we need to decide how we are going to manage and what kind of procedures and policies we're going to have in place related to alcohol. And in this regard, we wanted to talk at least today about the Rovers and their request for a beer garden in Worley Park. What they go to a number of different fields, and they do allow alcohol sales, beer sales in a defined area. For River Stage, we do the same. We allow alcohol, beer sales through a proper vendor, make sure all the insurance is in place, but we allow beer sales to occur. So with that, I guess, Scott, could you maybe come up here for a second and kind of educate us on what we need to do to consider alcohol sales at Worley Park, and what we need to do as far as, is it action from the council for the whole parks, or is it action? We're going to consider action just for Worley, and then we're going to consider action for...
Yeah, if you're going to do like a citywide policy.
Well, I want your advice on this too, on how to do it, because it seemed like in our meeting there was a wide different ways to do this.
Yeah, I mean, there are different ways. One thing that I suggested, if we were going to do something, I think what we talked about that meeting was kind of the most immediate request was from the Rovers, Worley. My recommendation would be, I never think that anyone from the city necessarily should be selling alcohol if you are going to approve alcohol. My suggestion would be to do it the way we do it for River Stage. Those events, there's like a vendor, there's a contract where you contract the vendor to do it, and then the vendor is the language that we have. I don't have that contract for me, but contract that you all have with whoever serves the alcohol, I can't remember who that is, River
Just
State.
Cluckers.
Yeah, that they assume all the liability, they have the insurance and so forth. So if, and I, of course, as the attorney, I'm not trying to tell you what policy to adopt, whether you want to total ban or allow it, that's not, I'm just telling you legally, my recommendation would be, I think, from a liability standpoint, that type of arrangement legally protects the city if you were going to go that route. That if this was going to be done, you have something in writing, a contract like we do with Cluckers or whoever is supplying the alcohol to the vendor, that the vendor, if we're authorizing the vendor to supply, but the vendor assumes all the liability. They have to get the insurance and so forth. Because that's how we have a contract with Cluckers, that they would identify no harm as the city, that we're not going to be providing the alcohol as the city itself. That would be my recommendation, if that is the route you want to go.
And with that, Nathan, would you mind stepping up real quick? Because I know you've called numerous times and you've talked to me about it. Can you
Right.
kind of explain to us, the board, how you envision this working and how it works in other facilities? you go
Sure,
to?
sure. Well, we play in what's called a pre-professional league. It's an under-23 league. It's meant to prep these players to go on to the professional ranks. 70% of the players taken in the Major League Soccer draft have experience playing in the league that our team plays in. Across the country, there are roughly 72 clubs that are in this league. You have these geographic conferences. Now, there's a wide range of setups in terms of the nature of the club and the facility that they play out of. But 75% of them have alcohol sales at their venue. And it's something that we believe is necessary in order to make our games more appealing to sort of the young professionals that are driving the support of this game and the growth of soccer in this country. We've seen in the last 5 to 10 years, what was always a popular youth sport has now become much more popular as a professional sport. You're seeing growth in all the leagues. You've got a veritable arms race within Major League Soccer with cities trying to get expansion franchises. You have the new professional team in Louisville City, playing in the USL, and for their first 3 home games, they've attracted 5,000 fans per game amidst some less than ideal conditions like the hail the other night. So there's a lot of interest and growing support for the game, and again, a lot of that comes from sort of the young professional class, and we think we're poised to be able to bring that crowd into our games. It's not a rowdy, drunk fest fraternity kind of crowd. We're talking about people who would like to have a beer while they watch the soccer game. You're talking about young professionals who grew up playing the game and are now of the age where they're going to these games. And again, they'd like to have a beer while they watch the game. And we think it would make it that much more attractive to them. And certainly, they can come over. The way I've had a few conversations with Boombas, but we didn't have anything to move forward with yet. But I think they're sort of an ideal vendor to bring in for something like this because of their location and because those who were going to our games last season like to use that as a place to gather after the games. So there's sort of a natural draw there. And so again, we would like to have this year. We think it can be managed in a very controlled way. We envision the area, if you're looking at the back of the stadium, to the right-hand side, the green space there between the fence line and the building there. Having that partitioned off as a beer garden, basically a tent would be set up for Boombas or whoever we end up contracting to come in and do that. And then having that area sectioned off, we would use, they were here this evening, we used K4 security last year, so we have, off-duty police officers. We would look at, 6 to 8 for our games based on our current attendance. If the numbers increase, we might increase that a bit. But, we'd have 2 that are designated basically right at the entry to that section to make sure that, again, you'd have to have IDs checked to even enter that section. And then just making sure that everything stays well contained there.
So is it basically beer you're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about beer. I don't want hard liquor sales at our games. It just doesn't fit our crowd and what we're trying to do, so.
And Boom Bars is kind of who you're, I mean, in your conversations.
That's, that's
A Jeffersonville vendor.
Excuse me?
It would be a Jeffersonville vendor?
Yes.
If this was approved?
Yeah.
And you'd be Jeffersonville police officers who would provide
Correct.
security?
Correct.
I think that would be a,
And I would want to point out, though, without speaking, I mean, we'd have to see a contract.
For sure.
And they would have to be agreeable, in my opinion. I would recommend to attorney that they are assuming all liability.
Mhm.
I mean, not only
I need to-
providing the proper liability insurance, but
Sure.
indemnifying and holding harmless the city of Jeffersonville.
Sure.
Incident with the alcohol.
Right.
Underage kid gets served, we're not going to be liable for that. If
Right.
you serve someone to the point that someone's intoxicated and leaves and gets in a car accident.
Sure.
City of Jeff's not going to be liable for that. So, I mean, there'd have to be a contract, and we have an existing contract with Cluckers, how we do at River State, where we have those contractual provisions of they're assuming the liability and indemnify, hold harmless City of Jeff, even though it may be on our property. That's how you contractually protect the City of Jeffersonville. So that would be one of my
Sure.
conditions as a lawyer, if that's a policy you're going to move forward with.
Sure.
I mean, it has to be a strict contract that's going to protect us.
You were thinking of the area on the one side of the stands there by the utility building,
Correct.
closer to the
Correct.
to the residents.
Correct.
Right. The only thing I would say was just to make sure we don't want anything to get out of hand that becomes a nuisance for the neighbors.
Sure, absolutely, and I mean,
I know you don't want that either.
exactly, we want good relationships there. I mean, I intend before our first home game this year to actually do a door-to-door with that neighborhood and just kind of a little meet and greet and offer a buy one, get one free kind of ticket thing and just, again, at least make that introduction and try to get things off on the right foot there. And then certainly that, again, I think we're small enough at this point that this can serve almost like sort of a soft opening, if you will, and an opportunity to learn a little bit as you go without it being a massive scale thing. I mean, we were drawing an average of 200 a game last year. Obviously, we want to increase that. We want to get closer to 500 a game this year. But I still think that's a very manageable size. Again, and not all of those are going to be alcohol, beer drinkers. I think it's a manageable size that we can learn a little bit as we go without having, again, a major situation on our hands, before we're ready.
Currently, Paul, like after an event like this, who cleans up the parks? Because I'm assuming we're going to have paper cups or styrofoam cups or whatever, because we're going to have more overhead because of the trash and stuff like that. But normally, who cleans up after an event now?
If they're Friday night events, we have a crew come in Saturday morning. In summer,
It's parks
Yes,
crew.
for the parks. If it's the Saturday night event, we have somebody come in Sunday to pick up trash and cans.
Well, I mean, I just want to make sure that, I'm good with it, because I think it's worth an opportunity, but I want to make sure that it's not costing us money as a Parks Authority, because we are going to attract more trash, that's just the way it is.
Sure.
And I don't want to overburden our guys on a Saturday or Sunday. I want to make sure that we are at least meeting that salary, and that would include policing the area if cups wind blows down along the fence or whatever, and it's got a big boom box, I say boom box, but whatever styrofoam cup and a beer came in. I don't want that trash. I want that
And
trash.
maybe that needs to
contained.
go into the contract, that the area.
Well,
needs to be-
We do have a setup and breakdown crew, and that's all basically volunteers from within my organization and interns and things like that. If that became an issue, I don't see it as I don't have any problem as adding that as an extra responsibility for that crew.
Well,
It's
we've
just a
got
couple of
neighborhood
extra.
behind us, and we're spending a lot of
Sure,
money on netting.
for sure.
and We've really worked hard with the neighbors to make this work, and I
Right.
don't want the wind to pick up some trash and get up the next day.
And again, I think there's nothing more damaging for us as an organization than to have that reputation as being one who's the problem neighbor, basically. So
We'll
I think
get
we're
it at the
sensitive to
end.
that. Sure.
And
We'll
to
hear about
clarify, your games are played, there's nothing else going on the site while you all are playing your games.
Correct. And what we went ahead and looked at this year was that we wanted a larger window of basically us only of inactivity for the rest of the facility, just to allow everything to be well set up and staged and what have you. And we are, with the exception of Thursday, one Thursday night game, we're exclusively Friday and Saturday nights. So there's nothing else going on there at the time.
Just entertain a motion if there's, if there's a majority that.
I'll make a motion to provide us with a contract that our attorney can look over to allow alcohol sales in Worley.
In the facility. And I'd like to just make sure, Paul, that we have a little something in there, that trash, because we are increasing our trash. I mean,
I'd like to say one thing too, with Cluckers and down the river stage, the city gets a commission or a percentage off of that. Is that something to discuss now, or?
can we just duplicate Clucker's contract and let him look?
Hey,
I
my
don't know
next
what
thing that I was going to ask is, can you provide me with a template, something you guys worked with?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still maybe, it's been a while.
You know what I'm saying about the neighborhood? There's going to be trash everywhere.
I just think we need to get the contract to stop.
Yeah, I think at this time, the motion necessarily isn't, you're not authorizing.
Right.
So, yeah, you're authorizing the discussions of drafting a contract to be brought back for approval.
Right.
Move forward with the process.
And you might take that contract and tweak it.
When do your games start, and how many games do you have?
We will be playing 6 home games there, first one being Friday, May 22nd.
Okay. A little bit of time.
Then we don't meet until
Maybe we should.
after that game.
Maybe
I
we
mean,
should
by
meet
the
ahead of
time he does all the contracts and everything, it
pre-meeting
wouldn't,
or
he's only got 6 games.
Pending a contract that meets his approval,
That's what I'm saying.
can we get
Well,
approval?
That's where I'd like to go with it.
No, I think we have a special meeting
Yeah.
before.
I mean, something like that, I would feel better rather than.
And I want the full body here,
Come back full, yeah, I think something like that, the full body. I think you have that special-
If Scott's approves it and he's happy with it, it's going to pass
Sure.
anyway. But
Sure.
But
Still,
something
Right.
like that,
Yeah.
a vote like that.
yeah, we'll just have a special meeting on it. Won't take 15, 20 minutes to walk in and walk out.
Sure.
I'd rather have
So
that.
you just,
better.
a motion to exchange contracts and move forward with
Drafting something.
drafting something.
Yeah, and then, again, we'll probably have to have a special meeting prior to, and assuming that these guys are satisfied and get it tweaked, and percentages and trash and all that's kind
In the
of,
meantime, you might be talking to your vendor.
For sure. Okay.
So the motion is to go ahead and move forward with discussions and
Discussions and drafting a contract.
drafting a contract. And so there's a motion, we need a second?
Second.
us.
All right, motion and second to go ahead and move forward with that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
We're talking about netting on the field. Do you
Mhm.
think 35 to 40 foot tall would be sufficient to keep balls in the field and not over? the
Yes,
red?
if you're hitting it higher than that, then you're,
Punting it
it's
over.
somewhat willful. Put it that way. So, no problem.
All right, attorney report, Mr. Lewis, do you have anything? Is there any public comments?
No, nobody signed up.
Okay, Parks Authority member comments, Mr. Smith?
The only thing, and I noticed today is, and I'm a little bit confused on we get a little bit confused on the parks property versus redevelopment property. And I'm talking about Duffy's Landing, okay? Recently, I think, and Paul might be able to answer this, last fall, early winter, they put in the intent was to do away with the 2 entrance and exit, the entrance and exits, and have a common roadway in the middle, and attach it to Cherokee with a 4-way stop or whatever they was going to do. And they went in, and matter of fact, they went in and put down the binder, put down the road, had striping, everything on it. Well, guess what? Every bit of it's tore out.
It's changed.
And I'm just talking about, I don't know, again, stuff like that bothers me, just like Mr. Colbert Hawkins, it bothers me. I don't know what the deal was. We went in and put the rock down and got it prepared, because I've used it where you pull out, and they've even had it striped with the arrows. They come along, put a sidewalk in, it's up, and now the asphalt's gone. So that costs thousands of dollars, and I'm just saying, to me, I'm just saying that's not acceptable. I don't know.
I don't even know what the final plan is there.
Well, I don't either, and that's where I'm a little confused on the park and the redevelopment. I mean, we're kind of all over the place, but, you know, that's costing us money. That asphalt could have been used in the parking lot. I'm just saying, though, I don't know what the final plan is. I'm not blaming anybody, but in the big picture of things, that costs the taxpayer, somebody, thousands of dollars, and it's tore out. And I just think it sucks. So, that's all.
I hated that we did it too, and I fought for it to stay, but the mayor met with some of the neighbors in Cherokee Terrace, and they were against it. They had a few reasons why they were against it.
They were against that, Paul, when we met with them
In the beginning.
in the very beginning. Now, and I don't care. I'm just telling you. I know 2 or 3 of us were there, and they talked about it. And really, the sidewalk and the intersection kind of made sense to me. I mean, okay. The neighbors were against it from the word get-go for what, and they had their reasons. But yet we moved forward. We brought in rock. We brought in asphalt. We packed it. We striped it. And I'll be daggone if every bit of it is gone. And you talking about, you know, burning money. I just think it's terrible. So anyway,
It wasn't my decision.
I know, but I was at the meeting when the neighbors complained, and I get it, and I didn't make that decision one way or another, but the council got it rammed down their throat that night. I'll tell you
The
that.
problem was, we had the meeting, and they moved forward with it after the meeting and put it all in.
Well, they worked on it all winter.
Yeah, I know, and then we tore it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Anyway, I'm just saying that's thousands of dollars, and we'll never know the man hours involved because we don't keep track of our in-house hours like we should. And it's discouraging. I mean, it really is. But this, again, the neighbors said last year, because I know there were several of us here, they said they didn't want it, and man, it was like, you know, nevertheless, it's there and it's gone. So,
Was that out of Parks budget, or was that out of
no.
It's redevelopment.
redevelopment?
Ms. Gill,
I have no comment.
Mr. Julius.
I've got a couple. Paul, we've asked for a long time about Allison Brook Park. Have we got a bill together for redevelopment?
I put one together and took it to the mayor, and he said, throw it away.
Throw it away.
Yeah, and he sent me a copy of it, and I have it at my house. I don't have it here, but I was going to give it to Marty Chalfant to take the redevelopment.
We need to.
And then if they wouldn't entertain him, then I thought I'd be going there and bring maybe the press with me and say, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had the obligation to pay it. That was part of the agreement. Go ahead.
Anything else?
No. Paul, in the last council meeting, we talked about Pro Media, and they said that was being paid under Parks. Is that being paid under Parks? We haven't got a
I don't think
contract.
we have a contract with them.
No, there's nothing
We-
coming out of
we zeroed it.
media other than the contract that we paid them to upgrade our website. Once that was over, there's no recurring fees, there's no monthly fees.
Okay.
And if we're just talking about the Pro Media's bill to do the city, it's not paid out of Parks.
I didn't think it was.
Redevelopment, he did a contract.
Anything else? Mr. Owen?
I'm good.
I have a couple things. This weekend there was a 6v6 tournament at Worley. Had over 400 adults go to this event. The adults came from Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. About 100, well, I don't know exact number, but the premier hotel was the Sheraton, and my estimate is about 100, almost 100 people stayed at the Sheraton for that one event. There, it was an overnight Saturday, Sunday. I met some at Stricker's for breakfast, and they had a great time. This team in particular, this was their 5th year coming to this event, so big success. I also want to just update the board that I've looked at, a number of us have looked at 7 parcels of land to consider for purchase, and there's nothing more to say that I haven't gotten any solid commitments or offers yet. I'm still going to entertain the idea of maybe us purchasing land somewhere to do some parks expansion. And if those opportunities materialize, I'll be sure to bring them back to the board. And that's about all I have.
I've got one other thing.
You weren't going to bring up the Lincoln County?
I don't think it'll come.
last week, and I went and talked to Paul about this, or called Paul, but I was getting some feedback from some of the parks employees about the green team. You know, they had some questions. So I went to the maintenance barn one day last week and sat down with the guys and answered as many questions as I could, and that's actually where that building came out of, through that discussion. So, you know, going in, talking to the guys and answering their questions, they got some good input. So, I think it's important that we listen to them, and, you know, they are the true boots on the ground. And, so anyway, food for thought.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn.